Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to the Edmentum Courseware Getting Started for Teachers webinar. Today we will be talking about how you as a teacher can set yourself and your students up for success in Edmentum Courseware and implement the Courseware program with fidelity. So I want to set some expectations for our meeting today. If you have questions, feel free to use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen to chat in your questions. I will be viewing those periodically. You can also expect to spend about 45 minutes in this webinar. I don't expect it to go over because some of that time is reserved for questions. However, if we go over, you will be able to, you can definitely leave as needed. I'll also be sending you a recording of our webinar 24 hours after this recording has ended so that you're able to view kind of what we talked about and follow along as you're preparing. So let's go ahead and jump in. I haven't introduced myself yet, but I would love to. My name is Crystal King, and I was raised here in Dallas, Texas, where I currently reside with my family. I am married to a very handsome, charismatic man named John. He teaches 7th grade math in the Dallas public school system. Together, we have two little adorable children. Josiah, who is 6, he currently wants to be a Beyblade trainer, which I don't think is very lucrative, but apparently he does. So that's what he wants to do. And also, I have a daughter who is 2. Her name is Khalees. She's super sassy, and she's doing a very good job at terrorizing the rest of us at the home, in our house. So a lot of funness going on in my home life. I've also attended the University of Texas at Austin, where I received my Bachelor's of Science in Human Development and Family Sciences. And then once I left there, I began my career here at Edmentum, where I serve as a Services Implementation Specialist. I have been here for 3 years, and that role, or my role, is just a fancy title that basically says to you that I'm here to guide you into a successful implementation of our program for your school needs and student needs there. So today we will be exploring courseware from an educator perspective and walking through how you can set yourself and your students up for that continued success throughout the year. I'm super excited to share courseware with all of you because it was the first product I was trained on, so I know it really well. It is one of my favorite programs because it offers so much potential and opportunity to students in how they learn. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in. So our agenda today is we'll start by having a brief review of what the Courseware program is and why it's useful. And that's just going to be through a PowerPoint. After I get through about 2 or 3 slides, I'm going to jump straight into the product, and we're going to begin exploring the basics that'll help you get set up. So that's logging in. We're going to review the app switcher bar. I'll show you how to access the Courseware program. We will look at the course catalog, then I'll show you how to create a course. After that, we'll move right along to the instructor interface so I can show you how you will monitor and track student performance, progress, and grades. As we go along, again, feel free to use the Q&A to ask any questions or save your questions for the end because I have reserved time for Q&A. And at the very, very end, we'll talk about the in-product support areas provided, as well as our lovely Edmentum support team that you can reach out to when you have additional questions. So let's move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and explain Courseware so that we have a solid foundation moving forward. So Courseware is an online learning solution that enables the students in grades 6 through 12 to receive rigorous virtual curriculum. We offer over 400 different courses that are state and nationally aligned and cover a wide variety of subjects. The really cool thing about our courses is that you are able to customize and modify the courses to fit the needs of your students. Your students receive an engaging interactive learning experience through a variety of interactive lessons, item types, videos, and more. Students also have an interactive dashboard where they are empowered to keep track of their learning through pacing views, color codes, and course grades. Now, as an instructor, you have the ability to view an intuitive dashboard where you're able to quickly identify students that are on track, behind, ahead, or view any course grades, manage your gradebook, and then stay up to date with alerts or completed activities or items that you need to score. Keep in mind that courseware can fit a variety of needs, like I said before. So, for instance, if you're in a small school in maybe a rural town where there may not be a lot of Spanish teachers, but you know Spanish is a required language, or some language is required for your students to graduate, courseware offers a wide library selection. For language courses, we have the World Language Library. For career readiness, we have courses that can get them on track for maybe a trade that they may be interested in. It also just offers you a selection of electives that they can take. I think my favorite by far is we just released the iOS mobile development course. So I think that's pretty cool that students, I know I definitely didn't have that when I was attending school. So to be able to expand your course offering through courseware, I find extremely cool. Additionally, if you're an institution, again, that doesn't have, that has students that may not want, or that may be interested, of course, in college, we have college readiness courses as well. So a wide variety of course expansion that you can do through virtual learning, through a virtual learning program or a blended learning program. So as an instructor, you will be involved in the student's journey, of course, and because courseware isn't really meant to replace you. I mean, you can definitely use it in that way, but it's better if you use it in a facilitative manner and you're facilitating and monitoring the student learning in courseware. So as an instructor, you are responsible for that facilitation and monitoring, and you're also responsible for, and let me put it this way, some of the things you might be doing is browsing curriculum, responding to alerts and communications from your students. You'll see I have this asterisk next to creating your course sections, and you also will be able to do that if your administrator has given you permission. You'll see right at the bottom of my screen where that asterisk is that I have that it does have to be given to you. That option has to be given to you by your administrator. You also will use the gradebook and reports to track and monitor student performance. And if you are a credit-given institution, you also are able to award credits as needed. So that is pretty much what you'll be doing, and that's what we'll be overviewing today. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the courseware program so we can just dive straight into the program. All right, so the login screen is login.edmentum.com, and that might change if you use any sort of integration or single sign-on. I don't have any single sign-on program. I just log in from the login page. So if you do that, you will have an account login, a username, and a password. And that's all. That should have been given to you by your administrator. I'm going to hit the login button. All right, and then we're taken straight into this. Oops, sorry. Let me get you out of there. Okay, we're taken straight into the Sensei page. And the Sensei page, you really won't start off here. It's used to get some information on your students, like alerts. It's a data dashboard, so we're not going to talk a whole lot about it, but I want to talk specifically about this app switcher bar here. So again, we are on Sensei, but you also have, these are platforms within courseware. So we have courseware here, which is going to show your programs, and the program is like a house, it is a house that keeps your courses organized. So you can have various types of programs. You can have them labeled by location. Most of the time, your administrator has already done this for you. So when you hover here, you will typically only see maybe your location or your type of implementation, like credit recovery. So when you log in and you hover over courseware, you'll be able to go to one of these. Before I jump into that, I do want to talk about flex assignments. So flex assignments allow you to give bits of content to your students for supplemental or practice reasons. So say, for instance, you have a student taking Algebra 1, and the student is struggling on maybe the module linear equations. If you have that student that's struggling and you notice that they're not passing their mastery test, which is like a knowledge check that they'll have, you might need to give a flex assignment because maybe the student is the real issue is the student needs help with order of operations, which may not be in that algebra course. Flex assignments allows you to give the student that reinforced topic. So they'll get a tutorial and a mastery test, which is outside of that course, but it still gives them like a mini lesson over that material. So cool way to use flex assignments, and most commonly that's how I see flex assignments used as fillers for knowledge gaps for students. I'm going to go ahead and go into Courseware since that's what we're going to be highlighting today, and I'm going to choose my program, which is the Cedar Ridge High School. All right. Now this is your instructor dashboard, and my instructor dashboard is built out. And the reason why is because this is my demo account, but most likely when you first log in, your instructor dashboard, you won't have any course sections or classrooms or anything like that. You'll just have these 4 tabs. So what you want to do is actually click on Menu and go to the course catalog here, which will show you all the courses that you have available that have been purchased for you. So you'll see I'm going to go ahead and say I have pretty much all the courses possible. So you may not see some of these courses specifically in your course library, but this is where you'll go to begin deciding which course you want to use. So you may know that you're teaching algebra, but you may not already know what content is involved in our algebra course. So you can come to this area and find out. Before I jump into algebra, I do want to show you that on the course catalog, if you come down here, you'll see that I have this chemistry course with a hazard symbol on it. And that hazard symbol, if you hover over it, it says that the course is actually retiring. So periodically, we will retire courses that may, because of maybe standard changes or that we've just revamped the course, or for any reason, we might retire a course. And when we do so, we remove the course from your course library. Now, if you want to keep the course, you can always use it as a custom course and just create a custom course out of it, and we won't remove any of your custom courses. However, the retire course, say that you have students in it or say that students were taking it, we don't remove the students from the course. All we do, we let the students finish out the course, and then, when the retirement date approaches, which is January 31st in this course, we will remove the course from your course library and you no longer will be able to assign it. So I always recommend looking for the most recent version of the course, and you'll see we've been provided the new one for chemistry. Assign from the recent version so you don't have to worry about any retirement. That's just a recommendation for you there. I'm going to go back up to algebra since it is a common course, and I'm going to click on algebra because this is how you would view the curriculum within the course. All right, so this is algebra, and you can see, oh, I'm sorry, I clicked on accounting. Let's go back. There we are. Okay, so pulling up algebra, you will see that it is 44 total activities in the course. This is semester A, and typically most of our courses are delivered to you in semesters. Not all courses will have both semesters. Some courses are just one semester. But this one is algebra, and it has that first semester here, and you'll see the first item we have is the student orientation. Now, each course that your students will take do have a student orientation, and the reason why is that we don't assume that the student has taken, we have no idea of knowing whether the student has taken a Plato course before or Plato courseware before. So we provide that orientation so the students can get acquainted to how to use this virtual online course. So if your students are new to Courseware, they can definitely look at that orientation and you can view it as well. Next, we have the syllabus, and the syllabus just provides an expectation or the expectations of the course and gives a breakdown of the course. I always recommend that you look at the syllabus so you know what course matter is within this course, and then also the expectations for your students. So you'll have an overview, you'll have some goals that is expected of your students and what they'll learn. It even tells you what the students need to know before entering this course and the general skills that they'll need to be able to perform within the course. It gives you a recommendation of credit value. It shows you some course materials here, so just a notebook and a computer with internet and speakers. And then the really nice thing is it gives you a pacing guide. So you can give your students an expectation of how much time or how much time they need to be spending per day in the course with objectives. Give or take this, the pacing, the number of days may alter by course, just by the content that's given, but typically you'll see maybe 5 units for your students within a course. So those expectations are there for your students within the syllabus. So students have access to that. They also have access to the course activity, which is a graded activity that this one will be introducing them to algebra. And then all of our courses, or at least for sure the core courses, it may change for college and career readiness, follow this lineup. And that is, they are going to be composed of units. And units you can think of as a chapter quiz, or I'm sorry, as chapters in a textbook. And within the unit, if you expand, they have a pre-test which allows them to exempt out of their modules. So we'll see modules here. If they get an exemption, they don't have to do that module unless you require them to do it anyway, but they will be able to, they will get 100 automatically for that any exemption they have. They also have a discussion, and discussions are where students in the class, so anybody in this class could go and discuss whatever prompt is here for quantities and expressions. Then we have the modules. So the modules are the topics that the students are learning. And so they'll get, within the module, they will get a tutorial, which is that instructional piece, a practice. Not all of the subjects have a practice. This practice is specifically for algebra, but we are incorporating more practices as we go along. So for sure, they'll have a tutorial and a mastery test, and then in some cases, they'll have a practice. Now, the mastery test is like a knowledge check, and the students will get a set of questions, and if they get an 80% or higher, they will earn mastery for that entire module. Now, if they don't get that 80%, what will happen is they will need to go back. This mastery test is kind of like a formative assessment piece, so they can go back into the tutorial and go and learn what maybe they missed, because we do have the option for students to review their questions the questions they got wrong in mastery test, so they'll have an idea what they need to go refresh on in their tutorial. So the goal is to pass all modules. And then if you look here, they have an additional unit activity that is related, and that's something that an instructor will need to score. And they also have a post-test, which is like your chapter test over the entire unit. And we have some additional practice there as well. So unit pre-test, pass the module, take the post-test, and you're done with that unit. So these are all the units. We have an additional course practice, which is a practice over all the units, and then that end of semester or final test for students. So you come, you look at your content, say you want to give algebra as the course. You will come back to your course catalog, find algebra here. We have a question. I'm going to pause just for this question. I have a question about post-test. All right, I'll go ahead and wait on your question, Mr. Hodge. I don't see the full question. Go ahead and type your question. Oh, there it is. So reviews for post-test. So his question was, where are the reviews for post-test? I have been creating them myself for students. So we don't provide reviews for the post-test. They're able to take notes as they go along. In some areas, in some courses, there are guided notes which help them out a little bit. But for the most part, they use their own notes. There's a notebook in the tutorial to take notes as they go along, and then they can review those. And then they can always go back into the tutorials and review for post-test that way. And then his second question is, are there any reviews for finals? And again, it would be the similar answer that where we have guided notes, they can use those guided notes, and those are in a select few questions, or I'm sorry, a select few subjects. I can't remember exactly which ones off the top of my head, but I can find out for you. But for the most part, they'll have to take their own notes. And I can actually recommend this academic success class that kind of gives them an idea of how to take notes in classes and prepare for like interviews and stuff like that. So you can use that course to show them how they should be taking notes and things like that. I hope that answers it for you. I'm going to go ahead and move along if we don't have any more questions. All right, so the Algebra 1 course was the course that we are going to assign. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this new section button. All right, and so it brings me into creating my section where I'll give my section a name, and I always recommend using the example here because it gives you some great uniformity with, or a best practice where you would give the subject, the semester, the year, and then your name, sorry. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and use that, Algebra 1A, Fall 2018, and then my name. So that way if you wanna, well, I already have one, Fall, let's go with Fall Crystal. All right, so that will give, say you want to archive your class, you can always, if you name them in a way that is easily identifiable to you and your students, you won't have to kind of figure out, like if you named them all Algebra 1A, you wouldn't have to figure out whether or not that course is, you know, the one from fall, the one from spring, the one from 2 years ago. By naming them in a similar convention, you'll be able to easily decipher. Next, we have the start date, and the start date is the date you want your students to begin seeing the course. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that as today. And then we have the end date where you can select your an end date for the student. It is optional. Since this is a semester-long course, I'm going to go ahead and choose an end date because it does turn on the pacing views for yourself and your students. Okay. Now, the end date, if I do not lock it here, students will be able to access this course after that end date. Next, you'll set any instructors, and you can search them by name or add by name. You are automatically added as the instructor. That was a nice enhancement we had this past summer. But if you don't know the instructor's name, or you know they have a hard name, you can't spell it, you can always go to this Browse Instructor directory and adding additional instructors on your class. Now again, you can search by name or location, and then you can just begin checking off all instructors you want to add to that section. So I'm just going to add one. All right. So then we have any additional options here. So you can lock the students out after the end date, and you can turn that on there. You can set a section description, which will be visible to instructors or admins. So maybe a way to decipher classes for your other instructors or admins. And then any instructions you have for students, you can place here. We also have this self-enroll option here. And typically I see this used by higher education implementations. But what it does is it generates a code where students can enroll themselves. into your courses. They would just need the code and the password that you set up. I don't recommend doing this for high school students because you might end up with the code being passed around, and you'll end up with students maybe not in your class signing up for your class because you're the cool teacher, and you'll have to weed them out. So our options here are to save the section without students or continue to students. I'm going to go ahead and continue. And this is where I'm going to go to add my students. So you can add your students by name. Say you have a short list, you can just quickly type in their name and begin looking for students, or you can browse the student directory, which is probably what you'll do. Now, if your directory is huge, again, you can filter by location or by grade level and begin selecting your students. And once you start selecting your students, there's no amount that you're limited to. You can set any individual due dates that you may have. You could always come back and add students to your class later. So if you get a student in the middle of the year and you need to adjust their start date and end date, you can do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit done and then save section. All right, now my section has been created, but I was on the course catalog when I did it, so I'm going to go back to menu and then my course sections. And you'll see that course section I created is right here. All right, so let's talk about this instructor dashboard, because again, once you create your course section, this dashboard will be relevant to you. So first, across the top, you're going to see that you have the option of My Course Sections, My Classrooms, My Students, and My Active Tasks. So the course sections are all your courses or classes that you've created. And you'll see that I can filter by active or inactive sections. I can search for sections, and I can also filter by like the course, and I could also collapse or expand my sections. So if I collapse all, I only see my courses. So just easy navigation for you to fit whatever style you like. Now, if you already know, so we went through a course catalog because the assumption is that you may not know which the courses look like, but if you have been a veteran to Edmentum Courseware for a while and you kind of have an idea of the courses, or you've used the course before, you can add a new section here from your course dashboard here. Now we have our course, like academic success here, and for the course you can pull quick reports on all your course sections, or you can get detailed and pull quick reports for that specific section. So I only have one, so these two would be the same thing. But if you have multiple sections, you can do one for course and then individually. For a section, you also have your grade book. You can view curriculum, and you can set any of your section settings. Anytime you see blue hypertext, you can go dive deeper into the section and view your students. But before we do any of that, you can also see how many locked mastery tests your students have, and you can filter by locked mastery test here. And this icon here is for any items that you need to score. You'll get a tally of those items here, and you can use either one of these to dive into deeper into what each of those are. So I'm going to start, I'm actually going to go down here and show you that we also, when you set the end dates, we have the pacing, where you can see if students are really far behind, slightly off pace, on pace, or ahead. And then again, those areas there. I'm going to pause just to see if we have any questions. And we don't. Since I know I don't have any data in the algebra course I just created, I'm actually going to go to a course that I know has data, and that is this computer programming class. So I'm going to click on computer programming, and you'll see that all my students appear here. So again, I can filter by pacing, and then I can see which students have locked items, and I don't have any students that need any items ready to score. You have access to your gradebook and curriculum for your class up here as well, and you have the options to add students or set settings. So there's various ways for you to do any of your tasks throughout the program. And we have that print icon there. So this is my computer programming class. I can see that Kelsey Berry is off pace. She has a current grade of a 35, which means all of the work she's completed thus far, she's made an average of 35 on. The course grade is a 2%, which is not good, but the course grade is just the student's average if she didn't complete anything else. So all the other activities, all other 32 activities. I can see her progress. So far she's completed 6 out of 32 items, about 19% of her class. Because I have pacing turned on, I can see where she is supposed to be given this time of year. And then I can also see the amount of time she spent working on her activities, and that's the aggregated time, and the items that need to be unlocked. If I check her name over here, I can edit her end dates. I can apply past credit. So if she's taken this course before and I needed to come in here and give her some of her credits from her previous course, or give her some of her progress from previous courses, I can do that. And I can also drop the student from my section. This area here allows you to send messages to your students, reset the password, edit any start dates, apply past credit, a lot of the items that you will see throughout. I have one question here. Is this session being recorded? Yes, sir. This session is being recorded, so you will receive a recording 24 hours after the session has ended. All right. So that is the course, the course section view of my computer programming class. If I click into a student, I'll be taken to the student curriculum details page. And then on this page, I'm able to see how my students are progressing within the course individually. So I'm given their start and end date, their current and course grade. I'm able to see how ahead of pace Kim is in this situation, and when the last time she accessed the course. I'm also able to see the total time on task, the amount of times she's tried all her activities. And then this is her curriculum details. So I see that orientation and syllabus. And I also see by unit her pre-test score, which was a 13%. She tried it one time and spent 7 minutes on it. I can view her answers. And I also can view a report of her pre-test. When we go into a module, I can see that she's mastered the careers in computing, and she has 80%. It took her 10 tries. Oh, hold on. Nope, I'm on the wrong row. It took her 4 tries, and she has that 80%. I can view her mastery test and see what she got incorrect if I click that view button. And then say, for instance, let's see if I have a good example here. All right, so say, for instance, she made a 40 on operators, relational and logical mastery test. She made a 40. She has not mastered it, but it's locked. Say I wanted to unlock it for her, I could actually click these 3 dots and come and unlock the test. So if I don't want her to have to go back through the tutorial, I can come and unlock it here as well. We also have the options to hide the mastery test so the student doesn't see it, exempt, edit an activity, which allows you to change the grade and set anything that's mastered, reset the activity. So you might want to reset the post-test because post-test like this one can't be unlocked. It has to be reset. And then I can view the history of all the changes made on that specific activity. All right. So I can come here and look at the student and see how they're performing in their class, and that's the student curriculum details page. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done, and it's going to take me back here. I'm going to go back to my course sections because that's where we had launched this, and I'm just going to give you some information about the classrooms. So classrooms are a way for you to organize your students across course sections. So if you have multiple students in multiple course sections and you want an easy view similar to this course section view, you can set up a classroom. You just have to have them in a section first. All right, we have the My Students view, which shows you all your students and all your classes. You can see whether or not the student is online. Right now, I don't have any students online, but if I did, this would turn green, which would show me that they're on task. I can expand my student's card and find what courses or sections the students have signed up for, and I can see their current and course grade. I can also see their progress and their time on task. If I click this box here, I can add the student to a class, or I can drop them from classes, or I can get this nice course progress report. Over here, I also have the option to drop the student and edit students' start and end dates. Finally, this My Active Task area here allows you, I don't have any right now, but if I had any items that I needed to score, I could come to this My Active Task area and score any item. I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions so far. All right, well, I don't see any questions, but feel free to ask as we go along. We also have a Q&A at the end. So now I want to show you Gradebook. So Gradebook is here. You can get to Gradebook from various places, but this is the Gradebook we're going to look at today. And so you'll see I have a legend here that kind of explains what each item on the Gradebook means. So a weighted score, a non-weighted score, etc. All right. I can see that I have students listed here on the left, and I can search for students if I can't quickly find their name. But for this student, Kelsey Berry, you'll see it, she hasn't done anything. She has a current grade of 0 and a course grade of 0, so she's not a good example. But let's look at Celia Cruz. She has a current grade of 90 and a course grade of 90, which means she has completed the course. She spent a total of 6 hours and 19 minutes in the course, and I can see her grades across the course here. All right. Now, from these 3 dots here, I can export her grades in a CSV file. I can also pull a detailed grade report. I'm going to click on that because it has a nice view of what the student has done as well as the weights on the class. And so I can get, a summarized view of how the student performed in the class, which is good for progress reports or anything like that. I also have a category summary report, and I can jump back to that student curriculum details page, which is that page, if you forgot, that shows everything the student has done. You can make edits on this curriculum details page, and it'll actually go to the gradebook and vice versa. So if you make an edit here, it'll go on the student curriculum details page. We also have class reports, and those are, that is all the reports on your class. And then if you need to adjust your gradebook in any way, we have the categories and weights where you can control the weights, and also whether or not you, what weight you want to give each type of activity. And then we also have grading scales and manage credits. So if you're awarding credits, and this is a credit class, you can actually come to this manage credits here, set a credit. So say this is a recovery credit and it's worth 1 credit. When you're ready to award the credit, like Celia is ready for her credit to be awarded, you can come and approve that credit for Celia. Now, Carrie Berry, it doesn't make sense that she has a credit, so I can remove the credit for her, and that will be on any credit report. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see the questions down at the bottom. So Jennifer, for your question, the course grade will always be a running percentage, so it will be low until towards the end. Yes, that is correct. It doesn't create a grade for what has been completed so far. So the current grade is what has been created so far. So her question was, is this current grade a running percentage? And that is correct. As they complete assignments, the current grade should get closer and closer to the course grade, and they'll match at the end, like Celia. All right, sorry about that. I didn't notice that I needed to scroll. Feel free to keep your questions coming. We're pretty much done. I'm going to go ahead and close out of the gradebook. One other area I want to show you is the View Curriculum button here on the active section. And the reason why I want to show you this page is because, again, you don't have to go to the course catalog once you create a section. You can actually come here to view the curriculum. And then you can also control the number of attempts on a mastery test. So if you notice that your students are just going in the mastery test, guessing for their questions, and then going back through the tutorial to open the mastery test again, you can put a limit on the number of times they're able to do that. And you can come here and set that limit. And then what's really nice about it is that once they hit the limit, they have to come to you to get an unlock. So you can kind of understand, okay, is the student struggling? Do they need to slow down? Do I need to kind of intervene and help them go through the lesson? Do we need to talk about maybe where they're struggling at in the questions? So you can kind of control that here. And the really nice feature is if you want to lock or hide any of the discussions, the teacher graded items, or anything like that, you can do this globally for your class section here. All right, so lock, unlock, hide, and unhide. All right. Oh, and then the other thing I wanted to show you is that you can move these around. So if you want your students to see the syllabus for some reason at the end of a course activity, you can move that around. You'll just save there. All right, so some next steps for you is, I know this was a lot in 45 minutes, but some next steps for you is to log in, go to your program, and you'll be taken to this page. Then start looking for the courses you want to assign from the course catalog. So go browse the content, and when you're ready to assign the course section, hit this new section button here. Now keep in mind, if you do not have this new section button, it is because your administrator has not given you the ability to create course sections. You can reach out to your administrator to get that permission, or your administrator might create your course sections for you. Once you create your course section, your students will start logging in, and they'll get their logins from either you, and you probably will get them from your administrators. And then you can go back to this My Course Sections view. All right. I recommend then kind of just keeping track and monitoring your students, making sure they're staying on task, making sure they are following, staying on pace, but also go set up your grade book. So go back to the grade book, set your weights. Now keep them also in mind that sometimes your administrator can set a global grade book, so you might not be able to come in here and change some things. If you can't, it will let you know when you come to the grade book that it's usually a note down here that the administrator has locked down the grade book of some sort. All right, but yeah, if you can, come in here and set your grading scale. All right, so do we have any questions? All right, I see Jennifer's question. Will the courses I created in the old Plato platform still be there with this new platform? So Jennifer, it kind of depends on what the course was. So was it custom, or was it a retiring course, or and how old are you referring to? Are you referring to prior to our summer release? Because most likely they're still there if they weren't custom. Can you give me a little bit of clarification on that? Oh, prior to summer, yeah. When you go ahead and log in, and when you log in, they should be there, because unless your administrator went in and archived those course sections. Now, if I'm going to go back here. If you need to get rid of old sections that say that you have here, you can always click the section and hit the deactivate button here, and then it will move into this inactive sections area here. Any other questions? Good question, Jerry. Will we receive a certificate for completion of this? So yes, we have a way for you to generate a certificate. We will send out that survey link, and you can go in and get that certificate. Not survey link, certificate link. Great question. All right. Well, I'm going to leave with just providing you with some product support. So we have some amazing in-product support that has changed tremendously, especially if you were here, if you have been here before, and you've maybe been in the help center. So you'll see now that as we release new features, that you're given this step-by-step guide on the page of the new feature. So it'll walk you through understanding like our drop score feature, which is new, which allows you to, instead of exempt students, you can actually drop the score from your grade book, and they won't get scored on that. So there's one on that page, but you'll also see them throughout. We also have on-demand resources, and those are the webinars that you're attending. We're recording this webinar, so you will receive a copy of it. And then also, if you go on our website, www.edmentum.com, we have some on-demand recorded videos for you there, as well as live workshops you can sign up for. We also have the Help Center, and the Help Center gives you access to the resources such as PDFs, user guides. It has customer support contact information. I came from customer support. They are super amazing. Feel free to reach out to them with any questions you have as well. And then, as always, if you have any feedback for us here at Edmentum, there is that C Hive area inside of the product next to the sign out button that allows you to communicate directly to our product team any feedback or enhancements that you would like to see. I can totally vouch. In my 3 years of being here, pretty much a lot of the features that you're seeing in the program as of now, and really with this last courseware implementation, all of those features came from some sort of teacher feedback. So we are always trying to make this product better for you to fit the needs of yourself and your students, so feel free to give us feedback if needed. And then lastly, I want to give you customer support's number. Let me just pull their number up here. It's right here on our Edmentum. Ooh, if I can type the words. Edmentum webpage. If you click on support, you'll see our support number for Edmentum courseware and all our other Edmentum products. So they are able, for courseware, they're available by email or phone. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me. That is all I have for you today. Feel free to hang around and ask questions if you would like, or just contact support with any additional questions that you may have. Have a wonderful day.